the U.S. Navy faces some pretty similar issues in terms of looking to this peer fight in the Pacific, distributing forces, trying to make themselves less vulnerable to enemy attack while also kind of optimizing the advantages that they have. And there's some pretty big issues that the future Chief of Naval Operations will have to grapple with. One of them has been, the Navy is very clear that submarines are their, they call it their asymmetric advantage. They really want to double down on their undersea warfare. However, there is a serious problem in the submarine industrial base right now. The Navy and Congress have been throwing a lot of money to try to bolster the supply chain to address some workforce issues. But currently, the Navy's asking to buy 2 submarines a year, and industry just can't deliver those. So the next Chief of Naval Operations is really going to have to figure out, the ideal situation would be to buy even more submarines to double down, but can the industrial base support that? So I think we'll see some very interesting things as it relates to submarine warfare with who the next service chief trying to grapple with the direction they want to go in versus what's realistically possible. Another modernization issue, you talked about the role of robotics. The Navy has sort of this vision of eventually achieving a hybrid manned-unmanned fleet. There's some early entrants into the fleet right now in the air and in the water, but I think we're really going to see some big decisions coming up. You mentioned NGAD for the Air Force, Next Generation Air Dominance. The Navy has a similar program that they've kept sort of secret squirrel to this point, but really seems to be sticking to its timeline. I think the Navy really aggressively wants to get out this fighter uncrewed aircraft teaming arrangement. So I think we could see the next service chief double down on that. And then looking to your traditional manned ships on the water, there's been some question as to, the Navy really likes its destroyers, but it's a big platform. Is that the right platform? The replacement for the current destroyers keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed as the Navy figures out what role it's going to play in future operations, what industry can build. And so I think the next Chief of Naval Operations is really going to have a hand in understanding what that aspect of the fleet looks like as well.